How's it going, everybody? This is BlueSwim, and you are watching gameplay sessions live on BlueSwim TV on YouTube.com. And let me tell you something, brothers and sisters, we have a lot to talk about. Oh, gee, I don't know. How about the big freaking megaton from Microsoft yesterday? After about 24 years of console exclusivity? The Master Chief is packing up and he's deploying to PlayStation 5 next year for the remake of the original Halo game. And the new trailer the trailer, I should say, was revealed yesterday, and it is called Halo Campaign Evolved. It has co-op, but I don't think it actually has the multiplayer. I think that's my understanding of it. Kind of an odd choice because the local multiplayer was essentially one of the big reasons why Halo was so popular back in the original Xbox era to begin with. But from what I've seen, the trailer looks all right. Everything looks interesting. I've heard there's some previews out there. I haven't had the opportunity to sit down and check them out. But it looked really good in the trailer. And of course, the big deal about this is the fact that Halo's going multi-platform now. This is, and I mean, of course, it's been on PC for God knows how long, and various situations like that, storefronts or whatever. That's not like the big deal. It's like the big deal is that it's going to a different console. And even if Halo isn't, as popular now as it was, a decade ago or more, it's still such a huge announcement because, I mean, you aren't going to get that many more so-and-so first-party franchises going to a different platform announcements. There's just not that many of them left. Halo going to, PlayStation, that's a massive announcement. It feels like, because of the way things were in the 2000s with, the console wars and stuff like that, it feels like the equivalent of the modern, I'm not sure if you'd say the modern, maybe modern isn't the right word for it, but just basically, it feels just like Sonic being announced on Nintendo GameCube. Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, I think, was the first game they announced. And I remember getting that issue of Nintendo Power in the mail. And when I saw Sonic on the cover of it, I mean, it was so fucking surreal. And given the way Microsoft has been in recent years, it's not as much of a surprise, but still, there is some shock to, the announcement that, Halo is moving to a competitor's console. It's a big announcement, about as big as you're probably going to get, save for maybe PlayStation stuff going to Xbox. I mean, because we know Nintendo's not going to go multi-platform. There's no reason for them to do so. So essentially, that announcement is, in the current situation, essentially, it's a pipe dream. So essentially, the big announcements are Microsoft going to, Halo or Microsoft franchises going to PlayStation, which we've seen several. PlayStation franchises going to Microsoft's Xbox. That really hasn't happened yet outside of MLB The Show, which was, contractually obligated because of MLB and what they wanted. And I think about the only things left would be either one of those two franchises going to Nintendo, because I don't think Nintendo's going to go with either way with, PlayStation or Xbox. I don't think we're ever going to see Mario on a PlayStation or, the Series X or anything like that. So, yeah, I think as far as like today's landscape goes, that's like about as big of an announcement as you can really expect now. And, back in the 2000s, it just seemed like it was an impossibility. I mean, even that rumored, well, I shouldn't say rumored because it was in development to some degree, but that Halo DS port, it's like that felt like something that, and of course it never came out. I can't remember what the situation was with it, but essentially it never got fully greenlit or whatever, or it got canceled. I'm not sure which. But it's like that was, even back then in the 2000s, that felt like a, just a surreal moment then, and of course nothing ever came of it. And here we are now. It's, I mean, obviously the the gaming climate is significantly different from how it was in the original Xbox era and the 360 era. I think if you went back and said, to Xbox gamers back in, what, 2008 or so, whenever Halo 3 was, really taken over, that, eventually Halo's going to be on PlayStation and Microsoft's really going to be, like, on the ropes. The reaction probably would have gotten laughed off in the first half of that 360 era. The second half, when it just basically became like the Halo Gears Forza machine, maybe not quite as shocking. And then, of course, the Xbox One got announced, and everything that went on with that. I mean, it's like Microsoft never really recovered from that abysmal announcement of the Xbox One. Or was it the announcement or the E3 presentation, or was it both? I can't remember which. It's been so long. But yeah, I mean, it's like it is one of those announcements where even if it doesn't have as much weight to it as it would have back, 20 something years ago, or even, 10 or 15 years ago, it's still a massive announcement, and it's kind of a shocking one, even with everything that's gone on with Xbox this generation and how they've essentially become, one step closer to going the Sega route and just becoming basically a third party publisher. I mean, I know they're angling the next Xbox to be like premium, and I can't remember the other description they used for it, but essentially it's going to be geared towards the high end gamer, the it's $1,000, give me, type of player, which I most certainly am not. I'm perfectly content with the Series X and the PS5. Not really chomping at the bit for a PS6. Switch 2, plenty of life left in the system. Horsepower wise, obviously, it could always be stronger. It is a handheld. Battery life could be better. But realistically, for what it is, I'm happy with it. This is going to be able to play, a lot of the modern games that come out for quite some time to come without having to have quite as significant compromises as, multi-platform ports to the Switch 1 had to go through. And I mean, essentially, that's, the industry is just fine where it is. I don't need any new hardware, and I don't think the industry really does. They have a problem, fully capitalizing on what's already out there to begin with. The last thing we need is more systems, much less ones with the $1,000 price tag or however much this thing's going to cost. I mean, if the Xbox, I feel like the Xbox Ally, Asus ROG, Xbox Ally X, whatever the fuck you want to call that thing. I feel like that's kind of testing the waters with, like, how much people are willing to pay for something Xbox branded. Whether or not it ends up, being something that's supported long term is anybody's guess. I'd be hard pressed to say with that price that it's going to do like crazy numbers. I think everybody's just going to look at it and either think I'm just going to get a Steam Deck, or I'm going to get a Switch 2, or I'm going to get a Steam Deck and a Switch 2. Because who wouldn't think like that, seeing a $1,000 price tag on a Xbox handheld? I have the original ROG Ally with the Z1 Extreme chip. And I mean, I really enjoy it, but the battery life is like always been an issue with it, and it's a Windows thing. And of course, this new one, it's running on Windows, so it's going to have that battery life issues. You know, it's like everything I got playing on the ROG Ally. I mean, it's like it ran well, it looked good. Um, but yeah, it's like just because it's running on Windows, it's like the battery life just could not really keep up with it, and that's always been my problem with Windows laptops too. You know, it just powers through battery life. But yeah, I mean, it's as it stands right now. I'm really not optimistic about the future of Xbox, at least as like a first party hardware company. I mean, I don't doubt that they're still working really hard on the next Xbox, but I'd be lying if I said that I think that thing's actually going to seriously do all that well. The problem this generation hasn't been the horsepower, it's been the lack of games. You know? I mean, I fail to see how, the Xbox Series X, wasn't powerful enough to run Forza Horizon 5 well. I mean, it did great. It looked great. It ran great. It was an amazing experience, front to back. You need more experiences like that. You don't need more powerful hardware because everything out there looks really damn good. Essentially, we're pretty much plateauing graphically, with the exception of the Switch 2 and the Switch and stuff like that. But they're getting close. I mean, the Switch 2, it's way, way closer to the modern consoles than Nintendo has been for quite some time. But, yeah, it's going to be kind of a dismal future for Xbox, I think. There's just no way they are really going to turn this around because the problem is the games, and in spite of every company that they have swallowed up, they've had mass layoffs and a very slim amount of games, relatively speaking, to come out this generation. And PlayStation's been pretty similar in that regard too. I mean, it's like what comes out is really good, and you can pretty much say the same thing about Xbox, but it's the quantity. It's like there's just so few games that are like first party exclusives that really take advantage of the hardware, and it's like you don't feel like it's like I know with me it's like I don't want to spend more money on hardware. I want to spend more money on games. I want stuff that's worth playing, and I feel like new hardware is like supposed to solve all the problems, and instead it's probably just going to make it even more. I mean, I know the PlayStation 6 is supposed to be portable or semi-portable or however you want to call it, but I mean, I gotta be honest. It's got its work cut out for it because I mean, everybody's making do pretty well with the PS5 and the PS5 Pro. And I mean, it's like, what's the point? If there's multi-platform releases for the future, that's great. If they have kind of decided to go with the hybrid gimmick, and they want to make things exclusive to that, I mean, I guess that's fine. I can choose not to buy it, and I probably won't for the price it will probably be by the time it comes out. But I mean, this has been a very interesting console generation. I don't think anybody expected any of this to play out the way it did. The PS5, it's been, doing amazing numbers. Switch 1, I mean, honest to God, I'd be surprised if they don't break the PS2's record. I know they're like north of 150, I think 152 million sold somewhere in that neck of the woods. Gotta be even more than that. Going into another holiday season with a new Pokemon game. I mean, it's got to break the PS2's record. There's just no way it can't. But that's a completely different topic. It's like just I don't think anybody really expected the Switch 2 or the Switch 1, excuse me. I got Switch 2 on the brain apparently. But nobody expected the Switch 1 to do quite as well as it has. And Switch 2 so far has apparently been outpacing the original for the same amount of time. And when you're talking about, Breath of the Wild being like the big launch game, and I think Mario Odyssey came out, like year two? Year two for that? Something like that? I mean, things are kind of looking cautiously optimistic, at least for the time being, for Switch 2. And I think when you get, something even more substantial with with our favorite plumber, I can only imagine things are going to take off even more so than they already have. And Pokemon Legends ZA has apparently sold somewhere in the neighborhood of like 5.8 million copies already. And a good portion of those have been on the Switch 2. It's apparently a little bit less than Legends Arceus. I can't remember how much that one did, but apparently it's like a few million less than that. And it looks, I mean, from what I'm seeing, honestly, I've been enjoying it. Obviously, I'm going to be playing some more in just a little bit. But I really can't, I really can't fathom how Nintendo isn't spending more money to make these games look better than they do. And I think on some level, I think Nintendo is constantly waiting for the bubble to burst. It's like, okay, let's get as much money as we can out of as little of an investment as possible. And, if it starts to really tail off, then we'll really invest some serious money into it. But, with the Switch 2, they're going to have to kind of consider really upping the budget so that these new Pokemon games can actually look like they're running on newer hardware. Because it looks like just a prettier Switch 1 game, which Legends ZA, you see the side-by-side comparisons between the Switch 1 and Switch 2. It's just a prettier Switch 1 game that runs at 60 FPS, and that's about it. But, I mean, they've got to, Pokemon's doing great, but I can only wonder how much better it would be doing if they really sank some serious, resources into making the next installment. And I guess we'll have to kind of wait and see what Gen 10, I guess it is really going to do. I think that's going to probably be a better indication as far as the visuals go. But, the rumors are that they aren't spending a hell of a lot of money to make these Pokemon games, and they are just cashing in big time. And I really wish they would scrap the two different versions of the game format, at least for the mainline Pokemon games. It's like they've done it with the Legends games, and I think that's one thing that's kind of brought me back to it a bit, is the fact that you don't have to you don't have to buy two versions of the game if you really want to complete the Pokedex. Which, I mean, I can't say that I'm chomping at the bit to do so. I mean, that's a pretty big investment of time. But, it always just seemed... I mean, it seemed like a neat gimmick back in the Game Boy days. It's like, oh, two different versions of the game. And it's like, oh, $30 if you want both versions. $30 a piece if you want both versions. It's like, hey, that wasn't terrible. It was a fully featured game with just some minute differences, and if your friend got one version and you got the other, then you can just trade back and forth. It's like, that was a neat concept back then. But I feel like the Pokemon games have just way, way, way outgrown it. especially considering how little differences there are, still to this day between, Scarlet and Violet or Sword and Shield or whatever. Just not that huge of a difference. But, I mean, just the way that gaming has been this gen, it's just, you know, it just feels like every convention has been just taken and just completely just dropped on its head. It's like, I mean, PlayStation, it's doing pretty well still, but very well. I mean, as far as like the financial end of it goes, but the games haven't been quite there. At least not in the exclusive form. I mean, it's like some things are cross-gen, stuff like that. Hasn't been an overwhelming amount of first-party titles that have really truly taken advantage of the power of the PS5. And of course, everything that's gone on with Xbox. I mean, this is essentially like the Dreamcast era for Microsoft's Xbox. I mean, it's like they've been a good alternative, a good competitor to both Nintendo and PlayStation, but the writing's on the wall. It's just a matter of when, not if, Xbox is out of the hardware market altogether. I can't see them turning it around with the way current leadership within the Xbox brand has been, because it's just been problem after problem. And apparently, they expect some significant profits from, every division at Microsoft. Some like 30% profits or something like that. Some ridiculous number like that. So, obviously they, with the way things are, it's like that's like an impossible goal to reach without doing everything that Microsoft has been doing as far as the cuts go. It's like it's unrealistic expectations for them to think that Xbox is going to profit, 30%, with the way things are going. And every decision they've made to kind of cut corners and make that goal is just pushing people further away. It's like the brand's on life support. In spite of what they feel and how they present themselves, I mean, the writing's on the wall. Xbox is dead man walking. We are staring down a future of gaming where Microsoft is a third-party publisher, just like Sega was back in the early 2000s after the Dreamcast. And it's basically going to be Nintendo and PlayStation duking it out. And, I don't think there's much of anybody that can really compete, save for maybe Steam. I mean, if Microsoft drops out of the console market, I could see Steam trying to make a more serious push towards being that third party, that third option. And when you're talking about all the cheap games you can find on Steam and everything like that, they could make a pretty valid argument, that this is the way to play games. But, that's years down the road, and it's going to be interesting to see if Microsoft actually can do anything with it. I'm not optimistic. I really cannot foresee the brand really turning it around. If they go third party, I think they'll do a hell of a lot better. They won't have the hardware, hardware costs to think about. But yeah, I mean, I think Microsoft is probably a better software company at this point than they are a hardware one, especially given the somewhat rough launch of the ROG Ally X. Seems like a lot of people have had some problems with it. But I mean, I've loved the Xbox since, and I mentioned this in the last video, since like I discovered Dead or Alive 3 and like Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell on the first Xbox exhibition demo disc. It's like those two things really saved my Xbox from going to GameStop. So I am like a pretty long time Xbox supporter. Not quite year one. Um, maybe year two or three. I can't remember which. I think maybe that bundle was the bundle I got with Jet Set Radio and Sega GT and Amped Snowboarding. I think that was maybe like 2003. So, I mean, I've been there for the vast majority of the Xbox's time on the market, and I love the brand. I have a lot of fond memories of it, a lot of incredible games and experiences. But it's kind of winding down a bit, and it's unfortunate. But they just haven't really distinguished themselves that well from PlayStation because it's all about the software, and they haven't had a hell of a lot of it. But I'm just gonna enjoy what they do put out, and we'll just kind of see what the direction they go in is. They've reconfirmed their support for Switch 2, supposedly. Um, I'd love to see like the Halo Master Chief Collection come to the Switch 2. I think that would be fantastic on Switch 2. Don't know if I'd have the room for it on my Switch because my Switch is pretty stuffed right now.